I do the same
can't
thing,
hear
man.
you. There it goes.
I do the same
Yes,
thing.
sir.
I tell my girl, I'm like, if I don't introduce you, then I need you to introduce yourself because I forgot who that person was.
Oh no, you can always just say this is my wife, or you can give a long introduction to your wife, and she then, just like playing poker or whatever together, you got to tell. She sees that you're going long with her introduction, like this is my fantastic, extravagant, beautiful, gorgeous wife, and she's like, oh honey, and you are, and when you know what I mean. Welcome to Straight to the Point, completely off topic, and we're starting off topic. We have our friend Jesse Smith with us, and Jesse, you brought a friend as well.
Yeah, I brought my buddy Crypto Master, NFT Master, Jason So.
Crypto
What up, guys?
and NFTs similar? They're not in the same. They must be in the same realm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
they are, but they're kind of different.
Okay, I was hoping like I'm not able to. I haven't been able to wrap my head around this. Listen to a podcast actually yesterday to try and get some kind of idea. I've stayed away from it because of my ignorance, and it seems like a lot to learn, and it seems like 13-year-olds are making millions of dollars by drawing stick figures or something and putting them in NFTs. So I've stayed away somewhat, but we're going to get into that. Can you mind if we jump through a little bit of Ink Master questions first, though, for you, Jesse?
Yeah, go for it, man.
And Jason, if you have any questions for Jesse or myself about it too, please feel free to interject. I don't know what's your guys' time like. You think you got an hour and a half here? Right on, kick ass. What was
I'll
casting
talk to you
like
as long
for
as you want to talk, dude.
Right on. What was casting for you like, brother?
It was pretty simple. Like I'd always tell everybody the story. I watched season 1, and at that time I was watching a lot of like reality TV shows. I was watching like Rock of Love, I Love New York, just a bunch of
Flavor Flav.
Flavor Flav,
Flavor of Love.
Right?
It's spicy.
Paris Hilton's new BFF or whatever, all that crap.
Okay.
This was before streaming was happening. I think it was before Netflix was really like kicking off. So I remember watching all these reality TV shows, and I was like, man, if I was on a reality TV show, I would do this, I'd do that, blah blah blah. But I always told myself, I'm like, I'm not going to be on a reality TV show unless it's something natural, and unless it's something that's relevant to me. And realistically, I was like,
so at the time you were considering getting on like Paris Hilton or something like that, huh?
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
Thinking it wouldn't have been too natural.
It would have been super natural. I mean, I definitely want to be her BFF, so it would have felt.
I was going to say, dude, I think you would make a great couple. You could kind of fit in her purse. She'd carry you around like a little puppy or whatnot.
Yeah.
You got the exact kind of cartoonish, characteristics that she looks for in a traveling companion.
That's true. Or I could have been Puff Daddy's new assistant or personal assistant, whatever that one was.
What was he having people compete to be an assistant?
Yeah, something like that. It was a good one. But
so
anyways,
you didn't try out for anything else though. You tried out for Ink Master because of course that was natural.
Well, yeah, I didn't actually even try out, which was kind of cool. I remember.
Oh no, because when you're Jesse Smith, the world comes to you.
That's right, man. That's right.
Fuck
That's
yes, rock star.
I was like, I don't want to waste my breath on a podcast when it's not even being recorded.
Yes. Yes. A little faux pas earlier. We weren't recording and Jesse was spitting fire. Mad fire.
Spitting fire. And wait, how many people listen to this thing?
It's like 5 at least.
I do not do podcasts unless there's at least 6 followers.
I think we just hit say, well, with Jason he'll subscribe today.
Okay.
We'll meet our quota. It's actually getting, I don't know, man. Some people are weird. That's what I found. And they like listening to me. So
I like
there's a certain number of that, certain bit of it. Yeah, we had fun. I get guest spot at your shop. We got to hang out and have a blast. Really beautiful area.
Yeah, thanks.
Casting was easy for you. They call you up. They say, you're Jesse fucking Smith. Our show is nothing without you. Can you come on down? Is that about the gist of it?
I mean, pretty much. They were going to call it the Jesse Smith Show, but I was like, I don't want you guys to switch this up.
Right. But no, casting for other people was, I mean, for myself, I tried out for that season. And when I tried out, I saw Steve Teft, who was winner of that season, and he was trying out like any normal plebeian. Did they contact you by email? Did they do a video conference?
So they just called my shop. And I remember my buddy Jason was like, hey, man, Ink Master is on the phone. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. And he was like, nah, serious. So I got on there and I got on the phone and I can't remember the chick's name, but she was like, hey, you know, I'm from Ink Master. I was wondering if you'd be interested in being on the show. And I was like, you know, I was pretty well established in the tattoo world at that time. I think I had like 3,000 people on my waiting list to get tattooed. And, you know, it was like, and of course, back then it was like anybody that went on TV was a sellout. And, you know, it was a pretty looked down upon thing. But I was like, you know, I don't know. And so I told the chick, give me a little bit of time to think about it. She's like, you got a day. And so I thought about it. I asked a bunch of people, and I basically what made me jump over the edge was, you know, if I don't do this, I will probably always wonder what could have happened if I had done it. And if I do, and I completely flop, at least I know. So I decided to do it. They did a little, I had to do a little video conference. I'm sure they wanted to at least see if I could communicate effectively.
Right.
Because as you know, there's a lot of tattoo artists or just artists in general that struggle on the communication side of things.
Through my casting process, I saw far better artists than myself that I recognized. And I was like, oh my God, and they didn't get on the show. And so, yes, you know, at that point, you kind of realize too, or through the casting process, I realized they were looking for characters as much as they were quality artists. But I believe they were also, they started with the quality artists that they wanted, you know what I mean? And then they built interesting characters around them. I feel like you were a quality artist that they would have sought out. Your work at that time still is pretty groundbreaking. I remember seeing a piece in California when I was doing a tattoo convention out there on a couple. It was like the little kids reading the book and everything's exploding around them with this imaginary universe.
Yeah, the Necronomicon.
Dude, that was so well thought out. The bodysuit so well applied. I mean, it was I'd never seen anything like that before. And to see it so well healed and everything was amazing. So I imagine that you're one of the artists that they probably sought out with an expectation to kind of win or certainly get far.
Yeah, I think for my, you know, what I feel like happened, and of course you'll never know because they'll never tell you, but what I feel like happened is they probably had me slotted to be in the top 3. And then I just was not as confrontational as they would like me to have been, or I wasn't probably as interesting as they wanted me to be. So they
You're
just
pretty interesting, bro.
Yeah, well, you know, I was super.
I'm one of the ones that's just screaming for you to keep doing googly eyes. I'm like, sure, they're googly eyes, but they're the best googly eyes.
Like, right. You know? I put a lot of time into those eyes, man.
Dude, when you did the haircut.
Yeah, the haircut.
That was a great scene.
That was the best. And it was so, maybe I'm making up in my head. Sometimes I do that. I have a tendency to live in my imagination. But in my mind, it had like beautiful gradation, like you shaped them on his head, like it was 3D. The best. And where else? And now the kid can watch his kids when he's driving them to soccer practice and shit, you know. He doesn't have to worry about getting rear-ended in traffic. This guy knows what's going because he knows where he's going because he knows where he's been.
That's right. You know, the funny thing about that story is, or that little section is, I was actually talking to him while I was doing it. I was like, hey, man, what would you like me to tattoo in the back of your head? And he started talking about how he was a TIE fighter and his favorite TIE fighter was this like dude. I can't remember the dude's name. And I was like, oh, cool. Let's do a portrait of that on the back of your head. So like, I'm like doing this thing. And he has no idea what I'm doing on the back of his head. And I remember the judges, they came up and they were like, so Jesse, what have you done here? And I went into this big elaborate story about how his favorite TIE fighter was this dude. And I wanted to do a portrait of it. And then, this is what came out. And they did not think that shit was funny at all.
But it is so. My favorite thing about you, Jesse, is anytime I talk with you in any kind of conversation at all, you have this ability, and you've already done it, obviously, with your NFTs in Caracas, right? Or what? But you've created Carcaeus. You create worlds. Like when you draw a drawing, that drawing isn't like it's just a new school fish or whatever. A new school fish dog. I don't know, something that you would do. I'm trying to get out there. Trying to be in your box, but you will envision this and perform this, but you will also have it. You'll know who its father was, its mother. You'll know where it went to school. You know what it does in its daytimes. It has a job. Like you create a whole world with each of your characters that is sometimes far beyond what you can see.
Yeah. And, I don't know if you feel this way, but after I'd been tattooing for about, 10 or 15 years, I remember just feeling like, my pieces, I'd tattoo a rabbit or a squirrel or something like that, and it would leave. And of course I had fun doing the new school rabbit and the new school squirrel, but I just felt like it was that was it, it was done. And so I decided to try to give them a little bit more depth by, giving them a story and a place to live. And that's when I created Carcaeus. And that was back in 2009. So, and for those of you, yeah, it was that 13 years ago. So for those
what a genius idea, because now that you create this Carcaeus, and I'll let you explain more, I'm sorry, but to cut you off, but what a genius idea, because now it seems like it's untethered your imagination and it can go wherever it wants because you set the rules in Carcaeus.
Right. And, the other struggle I think that you can agree with is, when you're a tattoo artist, you're kind of at the mercy of your clients. And a lot of times your clients can't, they come up with ideas, but they're usually stuff that we've already done before. And I'm like, how do I get someone to ask for, a 3-eyed rabbit with, 5 arms or whatever,
Right.
And it's like, the only way you're going to get people to ask for that is if you show them that before they get tattooed. They have to, nobody comes to me and says, hey, I want an interleukin or whatever, because they didn't even know it existed until I drew it. So.
Right. Beautiful. When you get there at the casting or after casting, you finally make it. They assure you you're going to be on the show. You show up and you guys start. For me, it was really impressive just to see all the many different cogs, the different people involved. But did you see anybody you knew as far as artists right away? Or?
I feel the same way you did. There was like 60 people there. It was cameramen, producers, I don't know, directors. I didn't even know who was who and who was doing what, but I just remember being like, wow, there are so many people behind the scenes on this show. And we actually had 16 artists on my season, which I think, they were due one producer per 4 artists or something like that. So we probably had a few more producers and a few more cameras and all that stuff because we had so many people. And I think after our season, they were like, we need not to have 16 people on at the same time if possible.
Right.
But yeah, I think the only person that I knew on there, actually, no, I knew Ron Stafari before I went on there. And then I knew Tattoo Baby before I went on there. And I'm trying to think if I knew anybody else. I think that was it. Those were the only people that I knew before I went on the show.
And did you make some friends, I'm guessing? I know I've heard that you and Kay Cutta actually kind of had a unlikely friendship of sorts.
Oh yeah, did you hear that? That's funny. Yeah, I love Kay Cutta.
Yeah, you kind of took him under your wing a bit to show him maybe some technical aspects that he was missing.
Yeah, I helped him, and I did a lot of. Well, I helped a lot of people on that show, but like him and Mark Matthews were two of the people that I felt like I just had they were the bigger guys in the shop. And I guess, all the instincts coming from a little guy is to make friends with the big guys. And,
right on. You're like, these guys got my back.
Yeah. And I knew right from the get-go, Kay Cutta, I remember the very first challenge, you know, he was talking so much shit and he was sitting right next to me. And I was like, I looked over at him. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm definitely not going to fuck with you because I didn't want to be caught up in that bullshit drama. And he was from Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I actually lived in Fayetteville, North Carolina for like 4 years. So we just hit it off on that. And he just, you know, he's a real dude. You know, he was very, he's real respectful to me. And, you know, he had some bad video footage of me getting fucked up because that was back. I don't drink anymore, but that was back when I used to drink. And
I want to talk about it because you became legend. Other seasons were I think they didn't allow us to get alcohol until like the 8th episode in. And even then it was kind of like, yeah, Jesse kind of ruined a bit of your partying going out. We weren't supposed to drink when we went to bowling alleys or something like that.
Dude, it was crazy.
How'd this come about, Jesse?
It was super stupid, man. It was like, you know, I like to say that I'm a relatively responsible person, but I probably got drunker on that show than I've ever gotten my entire life. I blame it on Steve Teft because we were drinking and you know, we were drinking pretty much at the bowling alley, but then when we got back, Steve was like, hey man, you want a screwdriver? And he gave me like, you know, 10 shots of fucking vodka with a shot of orange juice. And I'm just sitting there drinking it with him. It was me, him, and Clint. And man, I got so fucked up. I mean, the video footage that K Cutta had, I did not remember any of what he had. I mean, it was so bad. And
blackout.
It was completely blackout. And as far as I know, I've never blacked out before. If I did, I don't remember. Right. So, but,
that's the way that works.
Yeah. The way I knew Kay was a stand-up dude is he pulled his phone out. He showed everybody in the house. He was like, look at the footage I got yesterday while Jesse was drunk. And then right in front of me, he said, because I love you, man, I'm going to delete this. And he deleted it right on the spot. And I was like, thank you, man. Thank you. Because I mean, it was super embarrassing, dude. Like, I mean, I'm like tripping over my fucking pants hanging around my ankles, like just very embarrassing.
You're just pissing on everything out there, like Vern Troyer or something. Drunk
one night at
a celebrity house.
I was pissing in the corner.
Like, were you? This is awesome.
No, hell no.
Okay. Well, but I've shared a couple of drunk nights with Steve and Clint, and I don't know that I haven't been pissing in the hallways of some hotel somewhere after.
I can't imagine you three together. I'm sure you three definitely make some.
Oh, we had fun. We used to have, man, we miss Clint. Sucks.
Definitely miss Clint, man. He was a good dude, man. I didn't like him too much on the show, but afterwards we became really good friends.
You know, the first time I met Clint, boy, was he a fucking asshole.
Oh yeah.
He was I'd met him prior to that, just in passing through a couple of friends. And then I went by to say hi to him one time and he gave me this sneer. And I'm like, wow, what a dick, you know? And we never really talked. I see him on the show. And then I kind of was like, it's kind of who he is. And then Steve introduced us again. You know, we had again met. And it was kind of like he needed someone to say this guy's cool before he would be cool. Other than that, he'd be like, I don't need you around.
Well, he also
came up from that. Mm-hmm.
I was also going to say, like, he also was very moody. And I remember like telling him whenever he'd be kind of a jerk to me when we were on the show, you know, he would drink these Red Bulls every morning. And I was like, yo, go drink some personality, man. Because as soon as he drank that Red Bull and he woke up, he was like, he was so fun to be around. But prior to that, dude, fucking while he's doing his hair and making his mohawk, like you just did not want to fuck with him.
Right. Boy, what I don't know. My whole life, my whole morning is easy. I couldn't imagine having to do that mohawk I feel like that would make me pissed. You know what I mean? Just to be getting ready for the camera and have to iron my hair or however you eggshells. I don't know what you'd put in that and make it stand up like that. I guess you don't either, do you? Moving on.
All I know is him and Tattoo Baby took the same amount of time getting ready.
Okay. Right on. That seems right. Cause, about right, I guess. I got to share a season with Tattoo Baby and she would be sometimes running behind. It takes a lot of effort sometimes to be that pretty.
That's what I'm saying. I know. Luckily, I'm ugly. It don't take that long.
You and me both, brother. Tattoo Baby, what was your impression of her? You got to hang out with her. She was a sweetheart.
I love Tattoo Baby, man. She was great. I mean, believe it or not, she was one of the only people on the show that would draw outside of the competition. And I'm one of those guys who draws, even when I don't have to draw anything, I'm just always drawing. So her and I, jived right off the bat with just drawing together.
She's also a real fan of New School.
She's a fan of New School, and she's just super sweet girl, man. I mean, and I think a lot of people, when they see her in public, they think she's being a bitch, but really she just is. When she's not comfortable around a lot of people. So in my experience, it's been, she came out to my tattoo show and a couple of people are coming up and like, man, Tattoo Baby's such a bitch. And I'm like, she's not a bitch. She's just super uncomfortable around people she doesn't know.
The fame that, there's different level. Dave was talking about how he can't pee in a public restroom anymore because people try to take pictures of his dick and stuff. And right?
At least he thinks they are.
Right. He was probably wishing, like, man, these guys, like, he's just texting somebody. Everything's about you, isn't it, Hollywood Dave? No. But I feel like girls, especially one as beautiful as Tattoo Baby, with that exposure, it's got to be harder in public because there are predators of sorts. You're easily overpowered, perhaps, and then you're like, even this last weekend, I'm at the show, and because of Netflix, it seems like it's bigger. People want your time, and when you don't give them your time, and I mean, you can't. You have to kind of pick and choose sometimes. You can't give everybody your time, and when you can't give them as much as they want, then you're a bitch or you're a dick or
you're fucking rock star, whatever. Yeah. I was saying the other day, and I don't know if you experienced this, but it was like, as soon as I got on that show, every human I ever met in my entire life hit me up at the same exact time. And they were all like, yo, what's up? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I could only converse with so many people at a time. Let's just say I converse with one person per minute all day. You got thousands of people hitting you up. You can only talk to so many people. And then, of course,
there's you're a rock star.
And then you're a rock star. Shit. But then, you give them, some people deserve more than a minute. Some people deserve an hour, like your family or your really close friends. Right. So I actually had people that were, unfollowed me and they're like, oh, Jesse got too famous and blah, blah, blah. Because I wouldn't give them the attention that I normally gave them because I physically couldn't do it,
Right. Just couldn't give them. I understand that completely. My interest or something else I noted of that was of interest to me was that some friends just automatically, without ever trying to communicate with me at all, they just automatically assumed and told people that I was some kind of rock star now and can't be gotten a hold of, or people that I'm in their context. So I start going through my text threads, or in all my messages on Facebook to see if these people did reach out to me. I'm like, no, they didn't. But it's coming back to friends. They're like, yeah, he said that you, and the drug use. Suddenly I was using drugs, which
that's what I heard.
Well, I do. So, like, I was like, is this new? Have I not been pretty much on point with everybody I've ever talked to about this? I've smoked weed since I was 11. It's the one thing I haven't stopped,
Dude, you're such a criminal.
I paved the way for these kids. That's what I think. With the legalization, with with my whole, I still haven't gotten it expunged. But with my record, I'm like, no, that's a badge of honor, badge of courage, or whatever. I did the time over the stupid crime, so that you kids can go to your recreational marijuana.
Yeah, and make millions of dollars off of it.
They still don't give me free joints when I go in there. I try to tell them, like, don't you kind of owe me?
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah.
Kyle motherfucker Dunbar.
Let me show you my rap sheet. Then
I was
you'll
on
know.
that TV show that Jesse Smith was on.
Jesse Smith was drunk on.
The Jesse Smith shit himself on.
Oh man, dude. Did it get that bad?
No, I didn't shit myself. But the reason why they were really upset with me because of getting really drunk. I mean, of course, it sucked that I got drunk and all that stuff. But I actually burst a blood vessel in my eyeball. I puked so hard. So it was like they couldn't film me until that blood vessel healed up because, you know, of course, it's not supposed to look like anything's different from one. Yeah, continuity. So,
because it takes 3 days to make one day, but they want it to look like one day.
Right, exactly. Or, you know, when you're doing those interviews and your shirt smells like, you know, 10 years of sweat fucking because they made you wear it every day for 2 months. Yeah.
Right. They pull it out of the, I don't remember if they washed my interview shirt ever. I just always remember it was hanging up there.
Yeah. Well, I know they didn't wash mine because every time I put it on, I was like, damn, who's been wearing my shirt?
And they're making you sweat then. They're asking you the hard questions. Let's get on to some NFT stuff. And I'm sorry to leave Jason in the lurch for as long as I've done, but I was talking with Lenatra this weekend, and he lives in your imagination now in Caracas.
Car chaos.
Car chaos. Oh, right on. So it's like traffic.
Yes. Chaotic cars.
Chaotic cars. Which I guess could be a Pixar movie itself. But in this world, he was telling me that this use of NFTs actually has a use, as I understand, non-transferable fungal images.
Non-fungible token. It's not a mushroom, that's for sure.
Okay, right on. You can't trip these things. There's no psilocybin in them.
Nah, not yet, at least. Nah.
Well, we actually have psilocybin in our NFTs, but that's a different story.
See, it seems like it's so vast and so unexplored, and everybody that I hear about talks about all the possibilities. When I talked to Lenatra for the first time, he was actually saying, no, these are the things we're doing with it. Because I've only seen images. What is it? Conor McGregor after he got knocked out. Whatever it was. But so you're doing a similar thing, if I'm understanding. I'm gonna try and, as dumb as I know it, say it, and then you fill in the gaps for me, please. Inside of Carcaeus, now you're making characters that will be NFTs. The character is unique, specialized. I'm guessing it has certain attributes because it also allows you, it becomes your ticket into the universe of Carcaeus, where you can battle, make friends, do funny dances. I don't know, build Fortnites.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think for the most part, you got that right, dude. Like, and Frank's doing something a little bit different than I am. He is creating battles and stuff like that. Whereas my project is more about exploration and discovery. So it's like you're essentially discovering these characters and helping me document the different traits and the different things that these characters have. And they're,
I see the trick here. So you've ran out of imagination and you're using this community.
Exactly.
Right on.
You know, so basically we have, right now we're on Expedition 8. And Expedition 8, you're going to this place called Killick Falls Lagoon. And when you go to Killick Falls Lagoon, we're going to be, documenting these feral fish. And so these feral fish have different attributes and different traits and stuff like that, but they're all unique. And so this is all on the imaginative side of things. This isn't obviously the reality, but then when you're talking about the utilities of things, so the utilities are the use or the perks per se. When you're talking about the perks, you know, there's different perks depending on which particular NFTs you carry or how many of those NFTs you carry. So, you know, one of the perks will be free tattoos from me or whoever you want to get tattooed by. And our Carcaeus will cover your flight, your hotel, and the cost of the tattoo with any tattoo artist of your choice, assuming there's availability. We're not forcing any tattoo artist to do a tattoo.
Right.
But yeah, so it's free tattoos. The other thing that I think is super valuable that I think a lot of people overlook is the intellectual property rights. So you own Jason, what's that? The intellectual property rights? Was it C00?
Like CC0 license.
CC0 license. So essentially, like, let's say you're a t-shirt brand or something like that, and you always wanted to have me draw you up a design for your t-shirt company. Well, if you buy one of these NFTs, you essentially, as long as you own that NFT, you own the intellectual property rights, and you could put that on a t-shirt and sell it and make $1 million if you wanted to. So it's really cool. And we actually encourage it, like we want people to take these images and get them out there and sell them to
that seems like a big solution to that same kind of stuff just being ripped off of Google and then printed on a t-shirt without your knowledge. I remember Joshua Carlton, I think he found a tattoo one time inside of one of those tattoo dispenser things that was like his tattoo, taken from online. Someone had transferred it into a tattoo and then made it available as a stick-on tattoo.
Yeah, Javi, I don't know if you know Javi from Tattoo Theory. He actually just had one of his images turned into like a sweater or something like that, and they were selling it, and who knows how much money they made off of it. But it's just, yeah, it's crazy. Right. And I think that what's going to happen.
Disney just did that.
What'd they do?
Disney just did that, actually. I just read an article where a guy made a tiki drummer inspired that he was going to turn into a tip jar at his local bar. And then he made it available online as a 3D print. And then somebody found it for sale on the premises of Disney for like $125. And they had a different artist that was listed as the maker of it. But when you look at the two things, you're like, even the imperfections are the same.
Wow. Yeah, well, that guy, that's probably the best thing that could happen to that dude, because I know he's going.
Yeah, a good suit against Disney does good for your outlook on life, I think.
For sure. Well, and that's the thing is, this isn't something that's definitive, but it's something that's kind of floated around in my brain. And I don't know if Jason can back this up, but I assume that eventually down the road, how when you watch a movie on your phone or your iPad or something like that, and you try to screenshot it and the screen's black.
Okay, right.
You know what I'm talking about? Or even if you try to steal music and stuff like that, it's super difficult these days. And so I think
is it? Explain to me your troubles with this.
Well, I mean, it's just not, obviously you can go on to, LimeWire.
No, I know what you mean. Cause even just I was trying to view a missing episode of Ink Masters that doesn't seem like it's available anywhere of the season I was on. And I was trying to find out all kinds of.
Is that the one where you fought Chris?
No, that one's definitely available. No, you can find that. It was one where Scott. I don't know what the purpose of not having it available is. I think it's possible that somebody used maybe copyrighted image or something, and maybe there was a suit there involved, and they lost. I'm guessing, or it happened on season 1, didn't it? Didn't somebody get sued on season 1?
I think it happened on season 2 too, man. I think it was happening Jamie, all over the place. Jamie got he ripped off Crystal Loretto's piece, and then Trey got busted. Trey got yelled at for ripping off another artist who actually ripped off another artist. So I mean, and that's the thing is like I got on that show and I thought everybody was going to draw their own shit, and then I just see people tracing everything when I was on there, and I'm just like, holy crap, man. I'm spending 2 or 3 hours drawing up my piece, and these guys are snagging stuff from Google and just tracing it, and they're winning.
Right. Well, the judges kind of on there, they kind of like that. I think just simple, that's the same that when on my first season or the 4th season I was on, Scott ended up winning, and pretty much at one point we found out every tattoo he had done was pretty much on the first page of Google. Even though they were requiring us to use Getty because Getty was uncopyrighted. So that was kind of a small fiasco. But these NFTs, sorry to get back to completely off topic, but they're more than simply an image. If I'm understanding this right, so Lenatra's got some kind of battling RPG role-playing game or something he's got, but you're doing expositions like Pokemon or something. Does it is it like it leaves at a certain time? I get to just play the game. Is there a game that comes with it, an app or something that allows me to go on this expedition?
So we got a website. It's carchaeus.com, and you can track the expeditions there. Essentially our expeditions start, prior to our drop date. So if we're, dropping in a month, then we'll start our expedition, start recruiting our crew members, which would be people who are interested in learning more about Carchaeus or minting, which means, essentially buying an NFT from us. So we take these crews over to Carchaeus. They get to see all the new creatures from the get-go. And then, of course, we do it all blind. They get to
use them to sell their tacos at their taco stand?
Exactly. Or they can trade them in for tacos.
Or they can set them up as coupons. Or they could, I'm sorry I'm getting off topic. I want to go with, so the expedition though, is something that I'm viewing on a screen? Is it something I'm reading? Am I looking in grass for these NFTs? That can't be it, right?
What do you mean looking in the grass? What do you mean?
I feel like I'm playing Pokemon
reference.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. Like I'm searching through the grass and the NFT pops up and now I study its characteristics. But no, I mean, these are things that you've had to have drawn then, right? For me to explore them, I have to be able to see them, I'm guessing too, right?
Yeah.
So these also represent hundreds of hours of drawing time at the table for you. Am I wrong?
Yeah, tons. I mean, I probably wouldn't draw this much, but Jason's a slave driver, so I draw a lot for him.
Yeah, I like to crack the whip around here.
Someone's got to. I wouldn't even be talking to you. I'd just be playing Call of Duty if Candy wasn't cracking the whip. So I know.
I know, man. I know. Dude, I was trying to retire last month, and fucking Jason was like, "Come on, man, keep on drawing."
Were you really?
No,
you
I'm
weren't.
Kidding. But
Okay.
I am.
You're a young guy.
I'm trying to retire from tattooing next year, though, in March.
Oh, wow. And then just continue having your creations, making new worlds and explore ways to monetize that. Is that the idea? Or are you just going to go off to Philippines and live a comfortable life on Okay.
I own a tattoo shop. I own a tattoo convention. I have a clothing line. I'm doing NFTs. I do a lot of art outside of tattooing. So I don't know, we'll see where it takes us. But I think, March of next year puts me at 25 years of tattooing. And I think, 25 years is a long career, man.
Yes, it is.
Jesse, I know you kind of mentioned that you want to retire from tattooing, but you also kind of mentioned that maybe you would only tattoo people who were in the NFT community that is, in Carchaeus. We obviously doesn't detail flesh out, but I know you kind of mentioned that to make your tattoos even more valuable.
I didn't say that.
But it's a great idea. And this guy's ready to crack your whip. You're a young guy, your back isn't gone out.
Yeah, right.
Ergonomically, you're set up for this life, bro.
I know, right? Perfectly. Yeah, we were talking about that, but we'll see. We'll see where it ends up going. I mean, who knows? But my goal is to retire from tattooing next year.
Well, I'm excited for it because with one of the best quitting, it puts me a little bit closer to the top, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to get there from hard work and study, I'm just going to keep on waiting these motherfuckers out. As far as NFTs and tattooing, though, it does make sense that you would control the supply and demand greatly. I mean, if you're not tattooing for anybody but NFTs, then certainly those NFTs are selling.
We had totally discussed that option and figuring out the logistics of that. Another one of the things we've got going on too is anybody who owns a feral fish NFT gets free access to any tattoo convention or event that I throw for the entirety of that ownership.
Which, let's plug your convention.
Oh yeah, so I throw the Richmond Tattoo Art and Music Festival in Richmond, Virginia. This convention is started in 1988. JD Crow, Crazy Ace, those guys kind of got it started, and then you've got people like Gil Monty, Lyle Tuttle, Corey, Paul Rogers. All these guys were attending back then, and it's been going ever since. Except
So
for
you
during
own a
COVID.
piece of history.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it's very very humbling to be a part of that project, because it is the names that are behind that, and the people who have built that are pretty substantial.
Yeah. Yes. And then your shop, Loose Screw Tattoos. You can get that through your website as well. Which is loosescrew.com. And now NFTs and crypto. Help me understand the differences as to why would Jason be an expert in those two things?
Well, I mean, I don't know, Jason. Why are you an expert in those two things?
Well, I'm an expert in those two things because you said I am. That's why.
Right on. I found that's the way most things work for me.
So
you're
now
a tattoo artist. You're a tattoo artist.
Jason does all the marketing for me, and I do all the marketing for him. So I call him the master crypto NFTer.
But you do handle crypto, or you guys are interested in crypto as well?
Yeah, we are interested in the space for it. Yep.
So are you using it to purchase your NFTs, or can you use crypto to purchase your NFTs? You can.
Yeah. So our project is going to be on the Kronos network, as people are usually familiar. Things are usually on the Ethereum network, and people move to Solana network, but ours is going to be on the Kronos network, and it's a new network that is that both Abisu Bay and Crypto.com, which are the two marketplaces which we plan to drop on, exists. And another reason why we chose the Kronos network, other than it's a new community, it's also much better for the environment compared to the ETH network. So that's also a big push for it. But on that note, so far versus the other networks, I don't know how deep you are in this space in terms of getting a DeFi wallet, sending money back and forth and all that not fun stuff. But Crypto.com makes it way more user friendly with just buying with your credit card essentially. So that's also another reason why I moved to Kronos network.
Okay, so if I go there, I'm gonna purchase with crypto, or is it kind of exclusive? You have to purchase with crypto, but you can buy that with your credit card. Am I understanding that?
Yeah, Crypto.com makes it easy in that manner.
But you guys are only selling these things with crypto, or like there's a am I understanding that part? The NFTs.
So the transaction.
Okay.
Yeah, so because it lives on the Kronos network, it accepts Kronos essentially, which is the cryptocurrency.
Right on.
So imagine like going to another country and they only take yen. You can only spend yen in China, right? So
yeah, you're going to make a transfer.
Right. So you'd take your USD and then you'd go through an exchange, change it into yen, and then you would buy what you're going to buy. And then if you wanted to, say, sell that particular product, you'd sell it in yen, and then you'd bring the money back to USD. If that's what you wanted.
No, I think it is. I want to know everything, I guess, because now it's got me inspired somewhat for the first time in a long time, actually, about creating some kind of world. Mine seems more hellish to me, and there's a lot more fighting. But but I mean, to think that this is to see all these creative ways that you're using, one, to monetize it, but also to make it interesting, to make it fun and a value to people for the purchase. I mean, that's the most important thing, is that it has value. And then also, I'm guessing then, how is it that I see them go up in price? Do you have plans this is tough for me as a comic book collector for a long time in my life. I kind of understood how the limited supply and demand of comics controlled the price of the comic going forward. As more comics would be destroyed, then the other ones would be worth more. But in the case of NFTs, people really aren't losing them or having them destroyed. What is it that causes an NFT to raise value, and how do you plan on helping the people who buy the NFTs raise the value of their NFTs?
So imagine like an old Spider-Man comic, right? So what makes the Spider-Man 1 so valuable, in your opinion?
It was amazing stories.
Right.
I don't know. I never got to look at it. Here's what I know about them. There's one in town, and if you wanted to view it, to look at it, you had to hire this guy's security so that you could give him so he would let you look at it to possibly think about buying it.
Wow. So yeah, so here's let me answer that question for you. So basically, the reason why Spider-Man 1 is so valuable is, one, because it's rare, but also because the universe has unfolded from Spider-Man 1. So it's like, then you had, the other characters within the universe start coming forth, and that universe becomes more valuable. And of course, the older parts of that universe are more valuable than the newer parts. And so imagine that if you bought Spider-Man, imagine there was like a 1,000 Spider-Man ones, right? And you bought 1,000 Spider-Man ones, and you knew everyone in that community who bought the Spider-Man ones, and you guys all talked, and you guys could all kind of quasi control that market by, either burning them if you wanted to, or you could, make sure that the price is at a certain level, that nobody's underselling and stuff like that. That's kind of what you can do on the internet now. Is like, we have, Discord channels where the community is together, and they can say, hey, we're going to hold on to these so that they, maintain their value. If we see anything that, that's out there that is below that value, we sweep it up so it's no longer available at a lower value. So it's like
I follow. Yeah.
Yeah,
they will be buying the older NFTs if they were if someone were foolish enough to spend or to sell one for less than it was valued, then somebody in the community would more likely buy it up, as opposed to somebody new necessarily even having wind of it, which would then help keep the price going.
Yeah,
now, also,
it's the same thing with,
it's also
like,
a pyramid scheme. So you got that going for you. Like, you get in on the ground floor, and then everybody else is underneath.
Everybody always says pyramid scheme like it's not normal. I feel like everything is a pyramid scheme. It's like when you buy stuff from Apple, Tim Cook makes more because, the money goes from the top and trickles down. It's like every single thing is somewhat of a pyramid scheme. It's such a nasty term or whatever. But the fact of the matter is,
scheme part. The pyramid, probably we should just be like, well, it has a pyramid structure, Kyle. I don't know if it's a scheme.
Right.
Everybody's making money along the process. So it isn't like somebody who buys in today, he's just fucked. As a matter of fact, he still has the same opportunities to see this world expand, because you're not planning on it stopping with just you now. You've actually kind of, am I wrong? You've kind of open world it now, because people are going to be making discoveries about these creatures that you don't even know.
Right, exactly. That are created via the NFT generator. I don't know if you know anything about that, but basically what you do is
I'm just envisioning like the large alien. Remember in the Prometheus or Aliens when they see the brood monster or the mother one just out there pumping out these NFTs. But go on.
Well, essentially, there's this thing called an NFT generator, and what you do is you draw different traits. So I might draw 30 different eyeballs, and I might draw 30 different mouths and 30 different noses and arms and legs and tails or whatever. And then you can run it through this generator, and it'll give you every variation of those traits. So you end up seeing things that you would have never created on your own, and how they, I might always draw the same eyes with the same teeth and the same ears or whatever. But because I'm doing this generative art, I essentially am like, okay, I drew that eyeball now. So now I got to create a new eyeball that's totally different than this one. And so it actually starts creating these different creatures that I never would have created before, which was one of the attractive things for me for moving into the NFT space, was the ability to create these creatures that I never would have created on my own.
Right. Like seeing your imagination get legs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so the other thing I wanted to say too, man, is like, when you're talking about pyramid scheme and stuff like that, it's kind of like, the value of things, kind of like the real estate market. If you sell a house in your neighborhood for cheaper than all the other houses, then it brings all the property around you down as well.
Right.
Same thing goes the opposite way. If you sell a house in your neighborhood, let's say the average house in your neighborhood is 200,000, and one of the houses sells for $1 million, all of a sudden all the other houses' value goes up.
And,
so
and I should probably preface that really the only part of this that seems like it's a pyramid scheme has to do with the creative side, whereas the people who come first, they have more creative control over that world. than the people that come in later or buy a new token or don't have as many tokens.
Well, and the other thing
really
is
the money side of it isn't set up that way, is it?
No, I mean, and here's the thing, man. Like, obviously, getting paid for your art is an attractive side of being an artist. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things, this is all stuff I was doing prior. I'm just doing it in a different avenue, in a different place. And it's always fun when you step into a new market. Just like you were saying, you get inspired. Like when I stepped in the NFT space, it is super inspirational. And the crazy thing is a lot of people that are in the NFT space aren't even artists. They're hiring like, you know, people from Fiverr and stuff like that to draw these things. And then they're
Right.
just turning it into a business. So it's like, well, this is a place that I think we should be taking over.
Definitely. Especially with the scope that you guys have. I don't see anybody else. People have reached out to me to ask for my license, basically for them to create NFTs inspired by me. But nothing has this kind of a scope or this kind of almost membership or community that I've seen.
Right. And here's the other thing, though, with the whole pyramid scheme or whatnot, you can actually, you know, if someone's willing to sell their feral fish, you can actually be a part of the top of the pyramid if you buy that, you know, that feral fish at the top.
Right. Right. Seems like I've touched a touchy subject with you. Like, Kyle, it's not a fucking pyramid scheme. It's more like a Ponzi scheme. Okay. So no.
Dude, I hope it doesn't come off like I'm actually just really, really excited about this conversation. I'm not trying to be I'm definitely not upset.
No, you're not. I'm giving you hell, brother. You know, it's the only thing I'm really good at anymore. But I honestly have been inspired by this whole realm of it and seeing you guys create that. Like for me, tattooing is, you know, it's for all of us, it's an emotional ride. And I'll go on a roller coaster with it. And sometimes it sucks a bit of your creativity out of you.
Sure.
And seeing this is really fun. It's really cool.
Well, look, man, the best way to learn about NFTs is to buy one or to own one. And if Jason allows me to, I'll put you on the whitelist.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I'm with it. I seriously am. Now, I don't know what the whitelist is. Let me say this, though, because I keep thinking of this and then losing it. And I'm probably losing it now, too, even as I preface it like that. But this world that you're creating as well, it's going to most likely inspire NFT owners to use their characters in other fashions. Wouldn't you imagine? I would imagine immediately that some animators or something might be excited to have these characters. And now you see creations or animations created with them, like maybe even full skits or introductions to the world. Do you follow me? Do you think that's
definitely a goal down the line? Is, you know, Jason and I are both eyeing the potential of a cartoon or a video game down the road, and we've got the connections to do it. I just want to make sure that the foundation is built really strong before we jump into that. Because as you know, if you get into a project with someone and you don't have all your pieces together, then by the time the project's over, you know, it's something completely different that you didn't want it to turn into.
Right. No, I think I like where it's going, especially with the idea of community. It seems most of the things that are hits now, if you will, they're all about community. Discord itself, you know, which is something I barely understand. My son's on it all the time, though. You know, when you get to Twitter or Instagram, all these things are platforms that are designed around community. So why shouldn't art be the same? And in our community as tattoo artists, we've seen this, you know, that's where we get our interest from, our inspiration. So it's fucking awesome. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and the tattoo community is a great example of, you know, what the NFT community feels a lot like the tattoo community. Like when I go over there, like, and I get on these Twitter spaces, all these people just pop in like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing today? Da, da, da. And it's just and then the weird thing is it's so separated. Like I go over there and the only people I recognize in the NFT space are Frank, Nick Baxter, and Javier from Tattoo Theory. Those are the only guys that I know.
They're making NFTs as well?
Yeah, they're all making NFTs and that's it.
Baxter's is his as is it a world as well? I'm gonna have to look into it. Obviously, Nick Baxter's awesome tattoo artist, world renowned, and he kind of changed tattooing, or certainly helped people get a technical idea of realistic tattooing. And he's
Definitely.
an accomplished oil painter. What is his realm of NFTs? Is he creating a world too, or is it pretty much his art?
I mean, he's not only accomplished, he's just mega prolific. I mean, that dude's just bashing shit out left and right. But his revolves around I want to say it's 148 different hearts that he had hand painted. And so his isn't so much about a world, it's more about being a, and this is kind of what NFTs are as well. It's being a kind of a stock owner in someone's artistic, world. So,
Project.
for example, when yeah, well, just in general, like you are supporting my artistic world, all of it. Not just the Carcaeus, but also any artistic endeavor I get involved in. If you believe in me as an artist, or Nick Baxter as an artist, or whatever, you essentially own stock in what we do by buying one of these NFTs. And so Nick actually has his utilities revolve around a certain amount of tattoo hours, but then also you get the original painting that he created and stuff like that. And it depends on, he's got different tiers as well.
So it's possible, obviously, I don't know if obviously, the whole world of NFTs though is big. You can do all kinds of stuff.
Right now it's super small, man. It's like, and that's the crazy thing is like when I'm hanging out with the NFT space and stuff like that, relatively speaking, I mean, the crazy thing to me is that there's not more artists, or more tattoo artists at least, in the NFT space, because it just makes sense. I mean, and I've talked to one of my buddies here, Jason at Loose Screw. It's like, I'm talking to him about, I'm like, dude, this is a perfect space for you to kind of like explore and get some of your ideas out. And it's just it's super fun because it's so new.
Is he then involving himself in Carcaeus, or is he involved in it, I guess, in NFTs then?
Not yet. I mean, there's some resistance that's popping up in different directions. Some video
I think
people.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted, because if I play Call of Duty, so I end up buying these skins and stuff. I shouldn't say I buy them, but I work my ass off for them. If these were NFTs, then I would actually own something that I could sell. In the case that it's, do you see any, is that kind of a goal for the video game that you might possibly have? It's got to be, actually.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's the part is like, I don't know what type of, I'm trying to figure out what the resistance is, because I listen to some of these people and they're like, oh, fuck NFTs, blah, blah, blah. And I try to listen to what their problems are. And some of them were environmental, which is one of the reasons why us being on the Kronos network is substantial, because Kronos blockchain is 90% cleaner than Ethereum. So it's like, that's one, if you care about the environment, then you got to pick your battles. Are you going to drive a gas guzzling car? Are you going to eat meat? What are you going to do? So I don't think, and every time you do a Google search or any of that shit, you're definitely impacting the environment on some sort of level. So I do think that there is obviously a leg to stand on when it comes to that. But I think that if you dig a little deeper, you'll realize that certain blockchains are less impactful than others. Then the other one.
So you don't figure that the resistance is really that the other is?
I've actually had a couple people that were really upset with me because of the environmental stuff. And I'm like, of course I can't explain it to them because they don't want to hear what you have to say.
Right. But like, it's the same time. Once we get to pointing fingers like that, that's a real rough one to stand on, especially when you're making a conscious effort to make your NFTs with the least amount of, because just like you said, if I do a Google search, that might only take in the energy that I have from my house that came from some coal burning plant, not a hydroelectric dam. But then the servers are turning all across wherever's getting me the information. And it's not like it's some free energy. We have weird ways to imagine that we're cool, you're bad,
Right.
Yeah,
Always.
I feel like the main resistance is people just don't want to understand it, or they initially think, oh wow, a JPEG for this much money, that's stupid, and they just don't want to learn more. Even me coming from the tech scene, that's talked about a lot, and they still kind of look down upon it for those reasons.
I know, but so also though, that's better for people who do want to learn about it, because I mean, we talk about pyramid schemes, but that's not pyramid scheme, but it gives you a head start for sure. I mean, if it's a race of anything, the sooner you get to the platform, the sooner you're started in the race.
Oh
Right.
yeah, exactly. And the same thing happened for like Bitcoin and Ethereum back then. Like everyone's saying, oh, you know, when Bitcoin's at like $500, like, oh, it's already too late. It's not going to be good. It's lame. It just keeps, you know, pumping up and pumping up. And in the end, everyone's like, okay, now we have to actually take it seriously, and it's already over. The pump out.
But is it over? Bitcoin seems like it's going good, isn't it?
When I say over, so I meant more so it hit the peak, you know, way back then and moved back down
Okay, yeah.
in terms of the market direction. I mean, it's still
Right.
booming in general, but yeah, once people finally fully start to try to understand, then it's kind of like they missed it. So people should just try to understand early on, and you know, they'll get in sooner.
I follow. I think Joshua Carlton was one of the first tattoo artists that I saw was accepting Bitcoin. And he said he was trading it for tattoos too, you know, and that was when Bitcoin was so cheap. So I would hope that he was able to keep them and end up with, you know, millions of dollars now from doing a couple of tattoos. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm running out of questions. So is there anything you guys would like to say? Can you believe that? Well, you know me, I'm more used to just talking out of my ass. And this is something I'm so ignorant of. And I think that's probably the real resistance that you're probably running across, is everybody is so ignorant of it. Because honestly, even I can say that to you. When you say utilities to me, I'm just like, yeah. Nod your head, Kyle. Look like you know what they're talking about. Right. I've got a vague idea about the utilities.
When Jason was talking earlier, I was like, I know Kyle's brain's about to explode right now with all this vernacular.
Well, some of it, I think I'm trying to understand it, because I'm beginning to see that hopefully there's something in it for me. I do understand supply and demand, and I do understand the beauty of creating a world. I mean, I love comics my whole life. I mean, that was a whole nother world. You can't fight crime in a bright red suit, you know? It doesn't happen.
Imagine if you owned a comic book that would allow you to, if you showed that comic book to a tattoo artist, he'd give you a free tattoo. Or if you took that comic book to a concert, it would let you in the concert for free. You know, like that's essentially what this is. And because it's verified by, you know, a ton of different servers, you can't fake it. So you have to bring that up. You know?
I bring you my NFT to come into your show, your Raleigh show, right? Raleigh?
Richmond, man.
Richmond. I'm sorry.
I'm not getting interviewed by you anymore. This is bullshit.
Dude, you know how much weed I smoke. You knew what you signed on for. You just got to keep me going.
I thought Richmond, this was Joe Rogan, man. What the fuck?
Your agent. You got to fire your agent, man.
Yeah. Jason, you told me it was Joe Rogan.
I can talk about trying to S my own D. At any rate, oh man, listen to you get me off topic, and now I'm so completely off point. Dude. My ignorance of the subject is the thing that scares me the most of it, and I imagine that's what scares everybody else the most from it too. Is that is just that they have. So the more you educate as you are, and the more you have a success in this area, it should educate as well.
Kyle, come over to the Discord or hit me up on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. And if you need any help whatsoever, I'll help you throughout everything. And same for everybody else.
Help me understand this then. I bring an NFT to your show. I show the security guard at the door. Nah, I got this thing. And then what? Like, do they scan it? Do they?
No. It would go through a verified wallet, which would be like MetaMask or crypto.com or whatever. And you just show it and show them that it's coming back through your account and it's verified.
Right on.
The other thing is
you would just work out with security that they would have this understanding of how to do that, I guess.
Yeah. for sure.
And I get
don't
in
know if-
every year. I get in next year too, the year after that.
every year. Yep. And so like I don't know if you know that Twitter did this. So they have it now where they verify NFTs on Twitter. So like if you have a verified image, you can make it as your avatar. And when, I don't know if you've seen this on Twitter, but if people have a hexagon, then that means that they actually own that image.
Okay. I wonder if that helps people get verified themselves.
Huh. I don't know. You know anything about that, Jay?
Hold up. Let's just say it does, because it's such an ignorant subject. No one will know any different for a long time. So let's say, yes, it does. It helps you get verified, and millions of people will be buying your NFTs.
If you buy a feral fish NFT, you get verified on Instagram. Go.
You heard it here first, kids. It's guaranteed. Jesse wouldn't lie to you simply because he stands to make untold amounts of money creating this universe. Have you had any projections on? I mean, I know that you don't do these things for money. You do these things for your love of creation. But have you? And I'm not trying to find a number, but this is something that you imagine a success, like somebody themselves, if they were coming out of high school or whatever, they could create a lifestyle off of just doing this.
Well, so Jason's in charge of all the money, and he told me that I could make probably about $600 for doing all this. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Right on. You got to cut him into that though, too, right? He's getting like 7 points on that.
He told me I was getting 90%, and he was getting 10%. So I think $600 was what we projected.
Right on.
Yep. After a year's worth of effort, $600.
You know, I mean, obviously the only thing we can do is project, and you know, there's a lot of variables involved in the success of a project like this. So it's as of right now, we don't know, but you know, hopefully one day.
Do you have investors besides yourself? Because Jason doesn't work for free.
No,
your time is valuable.
Jason invests his time. Yeah, we have no investors though. You know, it's like, and I honestly, I don't particularly like that. Like, I don't really like getting money up front for anything. I'd rather put in all the work now and then get paid later. And you know how it is. Remember when you get like a deposit back from a tattoo and you're like, fuck, I tattooed today for free. You know, it's like,
yeah,
I prefer to just, you know, some people are like, oh, I'll pay for the whole tattoo up front. And I'm like, I don't want that. Unless the only reason I'll do that is if I think they're not good with money, and then I'll be like, okay, just give it to me.
Yeah. You're going to burn that. It's burning a hole in their pocket right then. You grew up there in Richmond as well?
So I grew up all over the world because my dad was in the Army, and I landed in Richmond, Virginia. I actually landed in Fort Eustis, Virginia when I joined the military in 96. And then I've been in Virginia pretty much the entire time since 96.
You think the military gives you an idea of or gives you your work ethic a bit?
Probably. I definitely think it plays a role. I mean, my dad was always like, he was always the guy where if I got second place, he'd be like, why didn't you get first? You know, like I remember getting published in some magazine and it was like one of the top 10 artists in the entire world. And my dad was like, why are there 9 other people in this with you? It should just be you, you know? It's always like that. But, you know, my dad also was a very sarcastic guy, and I knew he always, he always appreciated what I was doing. But he was just one of those guys who just kind of give you shit. No matter how high you got, you always had to go higher. So I'm sure that plays a big role in it. And he was also one of those guys that was like, don't start it unless you can finish it.
What about your wife's family? Are they around there too?
So they're in Northern Virginia, up in Burke. And that's where most of her family is, but she's Peruvian. So she's got a lot of family in Peru as well.
So as you're growing up, what was the first thing that got you to art? You must have somebody at one point recognized that you were good at it, or they gave you some compliment. What happened?
I mean, you probably did the same thing. I used to copy like skateboard designs and then video games and Dungeons and Dragons, Garbage Pail Kids, Saturday morning cartoons. Like that's all the stuff I used to copy when I was like 11 or 12. I have sketchbooks from back then with that type of stuff in there. But the funny thing is back to my dad again, he actually, you know, he was always very supportive of me as an artist, but he always said, you know, he was like, look, you should really think of a backup plan because being an artist is a very tough road. So when
Right.
he said that, there was like a little switch that clicked into my head that was like, okay, you're not going to be an artist. You're going to be an oceanographer or a marine biologist because I really love the ocean. And so I was
Right.
going to be a marine biologist in my mind. But I mean, I still, of course, always still did art. And I got a lot of accolades for it from, you know, just whether it was just someone saying, oh, that's cool, or someone that my art teacher, you know, sending my art into one of the local contests or something like that. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you know, it was just something I always did. And, you know, I joined the army. And the reason I joined the army is because I didn't have money for art school. And my dad, you know, of course, was like, hey, you know, you might want to find a backup plan.
And right. So how long were you in the army? 4 or 6 years?
I was in the army for 3 years. I actually picked the career path that I picked in the military specifically because it was only 3 years and I didn't want to put any extra time in that I didn't have to.
Right. And just get your, and then went straight to art school.
Yeah, I got my GI Bill. And then I headed up to Richmond, which was about an hour away from Fort Eustis. And that was the school that everybody, all the artists that I hung out with in Fort Eustis and Newport News area, everyone would always talk about VCU. And so I headed up to Richmond, tapped into my GI Bill from the military, and then just used that to pay for college. Meanwhile, I was tattooing the whole time.
Oh, okay. Right on. Damn it. I was hoping that I could laugh at you for making the decision to give up on school, but you must have graduated. You graduated and
Yeah, I graduated.
everything. You're a head tattooing. I know so many people that they start with school and they're like, you know, school sucks. I learned how to tattoo.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that was one of the things that my dad and drilled into my head. And I don't know, it was in my brain that I was going to go to college, learn how to be an artist, and then do my career after that. Even when I was tattooing in college, I didn't think I was going to be a tattoo artist. I was like, you know, I'm just trying to be the best artist I can to do whatever. I had no idea what type of artist I was going to be.
Right.
But then when I got out of school, it was just like, well, I had already quasi made a name for myself, at least locally. And I think I had got I graduated in 2004. I got the first magazine article in 2005. So I was already kind of like building that momentum. And if I didn't have, you know, if I wasn't getting the success that I was getting from tattooing, I probably would have quit. But I think I caught the tattoo wave, you know, at the perfect time. Cause I mean, 2004, 2005 was when I got my first magazine article. And I think it was 2005 when the first reality TV show came out, right around that time. It was either
So
Ink or Miami.
You figure the momentum and all that really easily led you to Ink Masters and being on reality TV, you mean?
No, what I'm saying is like, so I started tattooing in '98. And then, you know, I was just kind of doing it on the side while I was in the military and while I was in college. And then when I got out, you know, the momentum was still kind of growing. The tattoo industry was still really small. You know, I think there might've been 40 tattoo artists in the entirety of Richmond, Virginia. And then, when I got out locally, I was doing pretty well. Like I started to get a lot of people who were asking for me by name. And then in 2005, Inked or Miami Ink, one of the two dropped. And then the you know, the industry just fucking skyrocketed. And so like, that was where I feel like the wave, I was already perfectly poised by the time the wave kicked in. So it was like, I just rode that wave.
I see what you're saying now, that the wave kicked in pretty much from the exposure on TV, from Miami Ink, LA Ink, Inked itself, right. I think was in Vegas.
I remember that somebody had told me one time that I can't remember when this was. I think it was like, I want to say it was like maybe in 2012, 2014. Somebody had said, and I don't know where they got these numbers from, but it sounded legit to me. They said 70% of the tattoo industry has less than X percent of time in the industry or X amount of years in the industry. And it was basically saying that after the TV shows came out, it was like a huge flood of people came into the tattoo industry. So if you started tattooing before the TV shows, then you were actually an old timer tattooer just because you were here before that.
Now, influences as far as Saturday morning cartoons and all that, obviously they were the Saturday morning cartoons, Hanna-Barbera and type stuff, I'm guessing,
Yeah.
that were your influences there. Any others, like the movies? Remember that throughout our lifetime, you're a little bit younger than me, I believe, but we had some real good anime coming out. Did they inspire you as too?
I didn't really mess with anime. I do remember Voltron. You remember that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I
Awesome
remember
toy.
watching. I lived in Italy for 3 years as well, so I was in there when I was between the ages of 6 and 9, and I remember watching Voltron, and it was all completely in Italian. I definitely I didn't understand what I was watching, but I absolutely loved watching it, whatever it was.
Right on.
But as far as movies, fucking Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, Neverending Story, all that stuff, Gremlins,
Really?
all those things.
Yeah, but all these things are not really drawn. I'm kind of surprised that, but that those creatures then, because for you, I'm seeing that this is more about the worlds.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll tell you this, man, it is as bad as it is for me to say this. I don't particularly like cartoons right now. Like, I don't. If all those Pixar movies and stuff like that, I don't particularly like. It takes a while for me to get into watching them. I usually watch it because somebody else is watching it, and when I watch it, I'm really happy that I watched it. But for whatever reason, there's a bridge in my brain that's difficult to cross when it comes to animated things. Because maybe it is I don't really focus on the storyline as much because I'm focusing in on, I don't know, the eyes or the nose or whatever it is of the characters. But I really should like that stuff, but I struggle to get into watching it.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know. It is interesting. My brain.
But the other characters that you've created, or not created, but mentioned, the other creators that you've mentioned, or movies, I shouldn't say creators, but movies, are all really imaginative, fantastical worlds or fantastical creatures in a normal world.
Yeah. So like they're all, two of those are Jim Henson. I'm not really sure who did all the character development and stuff for Neverending Story. But yeah, I mean, I like the new Mandalorian. I like seeing all the little critters and Mandalorian, but I do like the real, I guess, the stuff that's based in reality on some sort of level, and that's what Carcaeus is. So Carcaeus, in case I hadn't had a chance to tell you, is it's this fictitious continent, but the storyline revolves around me and a couple friends going down to Ecuador. And then we end up trying to get over to Galapagos, and the fishermen over there lead us over to Carcaeus. And Carcaeus is actually this continent, this very small continent that was being hidden. It was being hidden from the masses. So it hasn't been on
Do you guys come
maps.
in and it's like the clouds part, and then you see the island, and then the opening credits start to roll?
Yes, that stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But this place has been hidden from the masses because all the deep state and the pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that had used that place to experiment on animals and a bunch of other things. And that's where all these crazy creatures come from, is over the course of the last, century or so, that place
is there a maniacal
stuff.
Doctor then?
There's multiple maniacal doctors. Yes.
Oh, good. Because you're going to need a staff of doctors to be creating these things then, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so awesome. And then there's also, that I don't know, that's awesome, because now my mind's blowing up with storyline ideas, right? Just like you would probably want, just like excites this whole community. Because now with a bunch of evil doctors, well, there's got to be a faceless corporation or evil cabal of somebody paying in to them as well, that is the face of the pharmaceutical companies. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And it's
basically Metalocalypse could also be in that universe somehow.
Yeah, man, they're growing weed over there too.
In Carcaeus?
Yeah, but it's blue weed.
And what does it do when you smoke it? You get googly eyes. I know that shit.
Yeah. That's why the whole continent is covered with these weird ass characters that smoke that weed.
All right, so here's my envision of it. You and your friends going to Ecuador, trying to get to Galapagos. You're going to study and draw a fucking bunch of puffins or something. I don't know. So you get on there with the with the ship guys, and then you're going over some rough seas, right? And the weather just gets real bad, just surprise storm. And you're like, we don't even know if we're going to hold on. It's like what like Gilligan's Island kind of moment, you know? And then suddenly just boom, you're right in the eye of the storm. And the clouds part, it's all calm. And there it is, the island, right? Boom. And then you start seeing all the creatures and you're like, well, these things are weird. And you have to then run from the creatures because someone's trying to kill you, right?
Yes, most definitely.
Now, at the same time, so when the clouds open, all this before was shot live, right? This is you and your friends. This is you, no one else. You're the actor. And then as soon as you go across the clouds, though, I hope it doesn't disappoint you too much. In my mind, now all of a sudden, y'all got googly eyes. You're all cartoon character, 3 fingers, all that stuff.
Dude, it's like bed knobs and broomsticks, man. Like Who Framed Roger Rabbit type shit.
Yes. Like it mixes between the two. So in this world, so in reality, maybe you're actually just knocked out or drowning. Maybe you're drowning because you succumb to the storm.
And a little critter rescues us.
Or we only imagine it. In my world, I don't know. Yes.
Yeah,
you're still just like dying. You know, in an instant, this is like your life flashing before your eyes. But instead, it was a whole better thing, you know?
It could be like Wizard of Oz, man. We were sleeping the whole time.
Yeah. Or a dream when you woke up and JR was still alive in the shower. Or was that a different one?
Who's JR?
J.R. Ewing, Dallas.
Is that a baseball team?
I'm pretty sure I'm just showing my age now. No, when I was a kid, it was a big deal. Who shot JR? And then the writing staff went through some shit and they hired some cheaper writers and they killed off a badass character. And then they were like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. All our fans are leaving. And so then they just brought him back the next season and he was taking a shower and it just turned out everything that happened the season before was a dream.
Oh my God, how corny.
It was a corny vehicle, but it was the only way to save the show for real because they had written it off of cliffs, you know? It was one of those agent moments where it was such a big show that then the actors start to get agents and they're like, nah, my character don't do that.
My character don't die.
Yeah, and he doesn't. Yes, exactly. Too much creative control. So, but I'm way off topic. I should let you get back at whatever creations for the day. You got drawing to do today, or are you just going home and sleeping? Are you going to play some Call of Duty? What's next?
I don't know. Jason, do I have to draw today? Can I take the day off?
Wow.
Got to draw every day.
All right. I guess I'm drawing today.
It draws on the paper or it gets the hose again. How close to creating we're creating a whole fucking world. It's going to take time. And a lot of it's coming out of your fingers, if not all of it, right? Even though it's being generated, you still have to do the things to generate the generator, fill the generator.
No, I mean, I've been drawing nonstop for the past 6 months. I've got actually 9 projects in the chamber ready to go. So we're just waiting for the smart contract, which is essentially an artificial intelligence kind of contract that makes sure that everything that's supposed to happen is going to happen. So we're just waiting for that to get the green light. And as soon as that gets the green light, we'll be ready to roll, man.
See, that part's weird too. You get a license from AI like Skytech or something, like the Terminator is like, yes, you can have license.
Yes.
No, Carcass is not an acceptable planet. It does not portray robots in a positive light.
Arnold Schwarzenegger makes sure that these NFTs get sold in the proper way.
So it's a guarantee to the buyer, I'm guessing then, that the contract that you are saying this NFT will, or what this NFT will do, it will do? Or is it a contract? Yeah, I guess. Who is it for? Is it for the buyer?
So yeah, for buyer, for you, just like any contract, except for this contract is held in by, well, I mean, Jason, can you explain this a little simpler for me?
Sorry, if you ask this question one more time about the contract.
So can you explain like
I'm curious who the
smart
contract's for. It seems like it would be for the buyer to make sure that you guys perform up to your standard. But is this a contract to make sure the AI company performs up to their standard, or?
So is the smart contract, you can think about it like a snippet of code, which contains functions, and those functions will allow us to do certain things with the NFT. It is for the buyer, but it's also for the marketplace and also the seller. So that way everyone can validate the smart contract.
Okay. It's not as it's something that if it were breached, you guys would be in default or liable. Is that what I'm understanding?
You can't breach.
It's not really. Yeah, you can't breach it. Think about it more like just like a giant chunk of code. It's literally just a chunk of code called a smart contract.
Okay. Right. It's not so much a contract as the typical terms.
So that code basically says, like, let's just say that if you buy an NFT for X amount of dollars, then this is what's going to happen with the NFT. This is where this goes. This is where this goes. And once that code's in there, you can't change it. So it's there. Nobody.
Okay.
So that's the thing that a lot of people like about the blockchain.
It's called a contract, but it really is code. I follow you. I'm beginning to follow you. It really is just a chunk of code that makes sure it performs right. But now you need to write that with the AI company because you don't write code.
Well, we have a person on staff who does that, but so it's like that's the attractive thing for a lot of people to move into the crypto space and the NFT space is there are like if you go to crypto.com, you have a centralized situation and there's people in there who are making decisions. But when you get into Web3, it's a decentralized situation. So basically there's no humans that have their hands in the pot. It's like a community of computers that verify the ownership of that specific that specific NFT or that specific token.
So how much danger will the NFTs that you're creating be in when the robots do take over?
I mean, I probably not any more danger than we'd be in.
Oh, I think we're fucked, bro.
We're fucked.
The things I've been doing to these robots, I still yell at Siri. I just found out you're not supposed to. Like, she will perform worse or something.
You know what's funny is one of my tattoo artists was like, she wasn't like being mean to Siri, but she wasn't being polite. And I was like, you better be careful, man. That robot's recording everything you're saying right now. And in the future, those robots are going to be able to listen to all that shit and they're going to fuck you up.
Yeah, because it's transcribed somewhere. Aren't you user C-34? And then they're just going to make, didn't you once say? And they're going to play it back to you. Fuck all robots. Robots suck my dick. They don't deserve government representation.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it.
Shock you. Yeah.
You're out.
Well, what do you see as the future? Not just. I mean, you see this. You didn't see this when you were a kid, right? This is beyond your. So, do you? You got to be excited as shit because you have a better understanding than me about this whole world. And you already see video games and stuff coming. But do you imagine, moreover, inside of society, the NFTs will become playing integral roles in day-to-day life?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, and here's the thing. Like, when I was in the same place you were when I first heard about NFTs, I didn't get any of it. But this particular world, once I stepped into it, I was like, whoa. I can automatically see a ton of uses for this. One of the main uses, not main uses, but one of the uses I could see that could pretty much wipe out the entire Library of Congress is the ability to copyright an image. So essentially, we should be able to get to a space where if you create an NFT of a piece of art, then it's verified by tons of other servers and other computers. So therefore, you no longer have to get it verified through the Library of Congress. So it's like eventually, I assume down the road, rather than sending your stuff to the Library of Congress, you would just make an NFT of it right from the get-go, and you have ownership right there.
Is this a process that you've been involved with before, submitting to the Library of Congress for copyright then?
Oh, yeah. You know, the funny thing is back when I probably didn't need to worry about it is when I did it the most. I remember like sending all these images of my paintings and artwork to the Library of Congress. And how egotistical is that to think somebody's going to steal all my artwork when I was like that age?
You mean they didn't? You never had to worry about it? Well, you took the precautions, so you almost don't know. Maybe they did.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe somebody did rip me off. But I don't know.
I know this. I once went to Milwaukee doing a tattoo convention, had an oil painting in my van. Wake up the next morning, or at the end of the show, actually, and I'd left the oil painting in there, 2 paintings all weekend. The window was smashed out. Everything was stolen, including the phone chargers. And that was when phone chargers weren't universal. It was like, there's no way this guy was going to have the phone for that phone charger. Everything's stolen except for those 2 paintings.
Nice.
Yeah, fucking art critic ass thief. Like, really, dude? Take the fucking, make me feel a little bit better about me. Just see him in the dark looking at it like, nah, I don't think so. This ain't worth shit to no one.
The funny thing is I have all this like insurance on, how you get like homeowners insurance or rental insurance or whatever. So I was like, shit, the most valuable things in my house are the original paintings that I own from various artists. And so I got this extra insurance to cover all those paintings. But in the grand scheme of things, 99.5% of the people that walk into my house do not give a fuck about the paintings. The only way I would be able to like, the only thing that could probably happen is if your house burnt down or whatever and you lost everything, but nobody's stealing any of these paintings unless they're an art collector.
Do you cover them for theft as much as you do for fire, or is it wrapped up in the same clause?
It's all wrapped up in the same clause.
Okay.
But if somebody did steal any of the paintings out of my house, then it would really narrow down the potential people who broke into my house, because the artwork that I have is pretty niche.
Yeah. Yes. And beautiful, dude. I'm only guessing if it's anything similar to the artwork you have in your shop, which is just, man, your shop was beautiful. That place is gorgeous. Same spot still?
You got to come back down. We've actually expanded into the next building. So we still have the original spot, but then we took over the building next door, and the building next door is way better looking than the building we were in.
So your dad ever get to have the feeling of pride for all this that you've created as well?
I'm sure he does. I mean, back in the days when I'd go to Germany and visit him, and he would get all drunk, he'd be in the corner talking to his friends, bragging about me. And, he'd never realized that I was listening and I could hear him because he was so drunk. But, my dad definitely is proud of me. And I always know, even with all the tough love that he's given me, it's, he's always cared about me as a whole. So.
Well, that generation too, they weren't taught that they could show affection. You'll make him gay. Be real careful.
Oh man, my dad used to joke about me being gay all the time. He'd be like, "Is there something you need to tell me?" But the great thing about my family is I knew that if for whatever reason I was gay, or I decided that I wanted to do something that was not the norm, my parents would always support me and always love me. So it's always weird to me when I find out that someone is gay and their parents have, shunned them or something like that. I'm just like, wow, that's so crazy. I can't even imagine.
It really doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, it's crazy.
My son is gay, and I applaud it so much, because how much it gets me out of conversations where like, you just sound like a homophobe, because I'm a boomer, so of course I do. And I was like, oh yeah, am I a homophobe, or is my son gay? Mic drop.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
It's like I don't know. I can't understand how you could create something and then be so opposed to what it wants to do.
Hey guys, just want to say I got to head off. Jesse, I'm actually picking up the stickers right now in the small window. But it's been great chatting with you guys, and what a great conversation.
Well,
and also,
thanks
Jesse,
for being a part of it, man.
I give you permission to give him a whitelist. I'll give you that permission.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
That's what this was all about. I didn't give a fuck to have you on here talk about Ink Masters or NFTs. I've just been long playing this for the whitelist.
Yeah, I know how you roll, man. I know how you roll.
Now, what the fuck is a whitelist?
Oh yeah, so whitelist is essentially like VIP access. So that means you're guaranteed the ability to get one of my NFTs.
Oh, I'm excited. I am excited for that. I've won some. It's something I knew that I was going to be getting when I was talking to Lenatra, just one of his own, and then one of my first questions, because I don't know, I see you guys almost intertwined in some way. Obviously, you are, because his shit is on your world too. But
for sure.
So immediately in my head, I'm thinking, what's Jesse doing? You know what I mean? And I didn't want to say it though either, because then that's kind of rude to Frank, to be listening to. And he's excited, right? He's excited to tell me about NFTs as being bigger than I might have imagined them to be. And
Right.
But then it did come to the point where I was able, where the conversation did talk about what you were doing too. So I knew we'd have you on the show for it. I imagine it would be nice to get Frank on too. But you guys, are you at a table at least 6 hours a day or something right now, drawing?
I mean, I would say, yeah, I mean, the two of us definitely. And the great thing about Frank that I got to say is Frank is always very generous and very willing to share and all that stuff. And the great thing about us, even though we're working on two separate projects within the same land, it's like people come into my Discord and they're talking about his project, and people go into his project and talk about my project, and we're kind of cross pollinating. So we're helping each other. And it's such and because the world is, because the amount of tattoo artists that are in the space is so small, essentially everyone who's in my space is usually in his space. They're also in tattoo theory, Javi from tattoo theory space. They're in, Nick Baxter's space. So they know about all of us because we're the only tattoo artists. Not saying the only ones, there's definitely other ones out there, but they're the only ones that I know within our ecosystem, like the people that you would know and stuff like that, who have NFTs going. So when you get in there, it's like, I've got people hitting me up, like Joey Hamilton hit me up the other day and he was like, "Hey man, I'm trying to get in this space." And he saw that I was over there in Discord and we just started talking over there. And other people have come over there from different genres of art that I've always looked up to, or don't really talk to that often, but I love them. And they just start talking to me because, it's like going to a party where you don't know anybody but a few people that you saw at this other party. And so it's just like a fun little new space.
Are you drawing on your computer? And then you have Discord up to the side as you're drawing, and you can you communicate the same times, or?
Oh, I'm not doing that. No, I'm just drawing on my iPad, and then I dip into Discord a little bit here and there. But I don't have enough time to be doing all of that stuff, and still running a tattoo shop and a tattoo convention and being a dad and all that stuff. It's very difficult.
Oh, I forgot about your kid. You just got the one kid, right?
Yeah, we had him right smack dab in the middle of the lockdown, April of 2020. So he's almost 2 years old now, and yeah, he's awesome, man. Where are you guys at?
We're in Flint, Michigan.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, I remember you telling me that. I used to have a buddy, man. I wish I could remember his name. I worked with him. Damn, Randy. What was his last name? Anyways, he used to live up in Flint, tattoo up in Flint up there.
Randy Gardner?
Randy Gardner. Yeah, that's who it was. I used to work with him.
Oh, you're shitting me.
Dude, he's
really
crazy. I loved him though.
Yes, he's
awesome.
Crazy. Dude, oh my God, that's such an old time name. You don't know what that brings back, actually, as far as he's crazy. I think have you talked? He's locked up right now. Am I wrong?
I'm sure he is. I don't know. Like the crazy thing is I don't know why. It's the same thing with like K Cutta and all these other people. I started working at this tattoo shop in Richmond, and I had a lot of haters because I was doing the new school stuff. I listened to hip hop music. I mean, this was 20, 23 years ago. It was like mostly biker shops. And I remember Randy and I, for whatever reason, we just hit it off. And I was like, and he was super good, man. He was super good. I forgot what he named his tattoo shop. It was like Ink something.
Ink Stop.
I can't remember. He actually opened one up down in North Carolina.
Okay,
There's one in North Carolina. It was like Ink Realm or something. I can't remember what it was, but anyways, you know, we hit it off really cool. And
Ink
then
Keepers. Sorry, go on.
Innkeepers, yeah, that's what it was. But he you know, it was really cool.
Dude, that's
I'm
big
like,
to me. I bought my first tattoo machine from that shop.
from Innkeepers.
Yes, from a
That's
guy.
crazy.
I had a tattoo done. I never had Randy tattoo me. My brother has had Randy tattoo me. And
That's
then I
awesome.
had a tattoo done by one of his guys that came in. I'm sorry. Go on. I'm so excited about that, though.
No, it's super cool, man. I was just saying, like, you know, Randy and I hit it off like crazy, you know, and then I later on I started hearing all the stories about how really crazy he is. And I'm like, you know, I don't know. I just really appreciated him and in the position he like when I was there. It was like he accepted me even though I was completely different than everybody else in the industry at the time.
But that also means then that you accepted him despite him being as crazy as he is.
Oh, sure, man. I mean, and you know, that's
And
always
then
been
K
relative.
Cutta. Is there
K
something?
Cutta.
Is there you know, I mean, is this a thing with you? I wonder. Not just big guys or something, but you're like, no, I like crazy, different spectrum people. You know.
I like people who are different for sure. And I like people that can stand on their own 2 feet. Cause I feel like a lot of times, and I don't know if you've ever felt this, but I feel it all the time. You get these little cliques of people and that just turns me off immediately when I see a clique of humans, or a group of humans that seem like they quasi have a hive mind. And I know that
Right.
as soon as you try to get into that space, you're going to get shunned just because you're different. And so I just stay away from that.
Right.
There's some people out there that run at the beat of their own drum and they do not give a fuck about, they don't have the hive mind. So those are the people that I typically am more attracted to.
Right. And sometimes they're relative criminal, like Randy happened to be, of great ability though, and imagination. He used to let his Rottweiler lick his fresh tattoos. And we thought he was joking. And we go over and nope, his dog was licking his fresh tattoo. That's how he healed it.
And I was attracted to, you know, I'm attracted to talented artists, and he was super talented, man. Like,
He's super,
I mean,
yes.
He was doing like black and gray realism. You know, this was back before Bob Terrell even, I think, well, you know, Bob Terrell had been tattooing because I think me and Bob have been tattooing about the same amount of time. But this was like, you know, I think Renshaw was the only person in the industry at the time that was doing like legit black and gray realism. And this guy Randy was doing that shit perfectly.
Randy was just sure that he could do anything. You know, I mean, you couldn't tell him you couldn't do something.
Right. He was just, he was too crazy to know he couldn't do something.
Yeah. And so he would try and then he'd prove you wrong. Or I imagine with the old timers and stuff, he came in and made quite an impression on Flint. Really brought the level of tattooing up.
Yeah, he was crazy, man. I remember he was tattooing in Richmond. And I remember going to visit him, and he lived in the ghetto, one of the ghettos in Richmond. And he went down to 7-Eleven, and I guess like the bum outside was like asking him for change or something like that. I can't remember what exactly happened. The bum did something pretty shady, and I remember he went into the 7-Eleven, got what he had to get, came back out, and then the bum like said something else, and he just pistol whipped him, and just fucking came back. And when he hung out, like there was nothing ever happened. And I was just like, holy shit. Like,
yeah, he was a big fan of guns. One time I came up to the shop and the door was locked. I don't know if they were out smoking a joint or a cigarette or something. And but there was a 45, a nickel plated ivory handle 45, like just out in full view on the countertop. And he's a felon. He is not supposed to have any weapon around him. So I don't know. I tell him about it when I catch back up with him, and they're like, "Oh my God, we left the gun out." Fuck.
Yeah, that's funny because the reason why I remembered him when you said Flint, Michigan, is because he told me he had a shop there, and he said he had 2 windows at the front, and he said that both of in front of like 2 windows. So you go in the lobby and then there's 2 windows that go into the stations. And he said that both windows, right underneath the windows, he had 2 shotguns. And he said, I think they were trying to rob him one time, and he just fucking, him and his homie that were on the other side just pulled the shotguns out and fucking, you know, scared the dudes away.
I wouldn't be surprised. I do know that they used to shoot at the hookers. I mean, not directly. But the hookers, like there was Dort Highway was a really rough ass spot, still is to this day. but hookers did not go around the tattoo shop there. You could be sure of that. And that was strictly because they shot at them.
That's crazy. Yeah, Randy was nuts, man.
5-lane highway. And they're shooting at people. Yeah, they were nuts. Anyways, moving on. Man, that's so cool though. I love that. That's so much of my history. I got yelled at by those guys and then they sold me my first machine. They tattooed and they kind of accepted me in, you know.
That's cool.
It was the first place I ever kind of started to feel at home, even outside of anything, I think. Like tattoos
that was a
were
long
that
time
for me.
ago too. I mean, I had to been, how long you been tattooing?
About 27 years. So I was 18, 19 when I first started going around there. And I didn't really start getting a machine until about 2 or 3 years later. And
because he
even
didn't
then
move to Richmond until, I think he was in Richmond, and I think it was 99, 2000. So it had to have been before that, I believe.
So he was actually he was probably on a bit of a spiral when you seen him too. Like I seen him on his Upwardly Mobile where he had just gotten out of prison over a serious gun crime. And then after losing, you know, your significant other, I imagine you could be on a downward spiral of sorts.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the last I heard. He opened up Innkeepers again down in Wilmington, I think, North Carolina. And then I had heard that he got locked up around there that time. I don't know if it's the same one, but I'd love to see him again, man. I had a lot of fun hanging out with him.
Myself too. I wonder how much of this candy is going to cut out. Or have to bleep over. Sometimes it might be handy just to beep over a name. That's crazy, man. I really like that. I keep finding out that people from Flint ended up influencing other artists. There's Matt Rinks in Baltimore that I keep coming across his work and stuff.
Nice.
I don't know though if I think I should probably let you go before I drag this on too long. I really appreciate you telling me about the world of NFTs and exciting me too, because where my mind's going now is kind of involved around that, you know, like it opens up an ability, like you could have a hell dimension easily somewhere in the same spot where these scientists were funded to try and study some of the same. They're already doing all the tests. Why wouldn't they also do their otherworldly portals there? So then you got people like Brandon Hera and stuff, you know, Toxic down there in Texas that can collaborate inside of Caracas. Not Caracas.
Say it.
KS.
Car
chaos.
Car chaos.
Man.
But dude, hey man, any help you need, just let me know. It is very intimidating and it takes a lot of it's very painful too. Like, you know, when you learn something new, that your brain gets it gets very painful. You're like, fuck, I do not understand any of this shit. I felt that way so much over the past 6 months, but it does get easier just like with anything. And it helps out to have people to help you out. And, you know, Javi has been a great help to me. And, you know, Frank's been a good help to me. And of course, Jason, who was on here earlier, has been a substantial help. So it really helps to have people around that are willing to help you into the space. But we need more tattoo artists in here for sure. Yeah,
now, when you're making these, it's just the same process. You're on your iPad using Procreate or something like that, I imagine, or some kind of other program. Right on.
Yeah, I'm using Procreate, and then you just draw each trait on a separate layer. And so you could draw 5 different eyeballs and 5 noses and 5 mouths. And I typically have a base shape. So, you know, I did some butterfly bats. So I had a circle with a little body, and then I did different eyes on there, different noses, different mouths, different wings, and different feet. And then what you do is you run it through the generator. And, you know, it's a little confusing at first, but you go through the generator and it just gives you every variation of that.
Where do you get your generator? This is on a website?
Yeah, there's multiple places that you can get. You can get it online. There's a place, I think it's called nftgenerator.art or /art or something like that. If you Google NFT generator, you can find it. There's also, there's different programs that can do it for you too. But once again, a lot of that stuff I leave up to Jason. I just focus on the artwork, the stories, the world building. I play with like I guess the quasi tokenomics of it, where it's like, if you get this, then you can get this, and if you trade in these, you can get those, and that type of stuff. Ranks,
right on, to kind of
ranks.
assign a value to some of those items then too.
Yeah. And there's also the other thing I absolutely love. If you take the NFTs out of it, just remove the NFTs. Imagine if you could do this. Imagine if you had a Discord channel and anyone who got tattooed by you 27 years ago would fall into this role. And that role would be, we'll just call him an OG collector of Kyle Dunbar. And you collected every single client that you've ever tattooed all the way up to now. And you had 27 years of your clients / fans, etc., ranked out on the Discord channel. And the people who got tattooed by you at the beginning have more value than obviously the newer ones. And they have more pride in it too, because they're like, yo, I was an OG collector of Kyle. Right. And so that's kind of what's happening with the NFT space is right now, we'll say this is year one of Kyle Dunbar as an NFT creator, right? And then you can actually collect those and put people in those different roles. And then you give people certain access within those roles. So for example, your OG guys, since they've been around forever, they actually get the opportunity to get any print that you create for 25% off or whatever you want to give them.
Right.
They get the opportunity to get free stickers every time you come out with a sticker. And it's almost like a quasi like membership to the art of Kyle Dunbar.
Right. And it's of course going to probably inspire them still to get more of your catalog. If you had to mail out somebody stickers every time you minted stickers, you had a mailing list. With that mailing list, I imagine comes some more art work that I just dropped. Right? Why not?
Yeah.
And then that's going to inspire more sales because now they're thinking about it and they're seeing it again. And you can sell more NFTs.
And they're also invested in it because in them supporting you and promoting you, they're also building the value of Kyle Dunbar. And that, of course, increases the value of everything that they own of yours from the beginning. So it's like
this really becomes vital almost for tattoo artists that if you want something, especially if you plan on having a career, this is almost it's hard to build a career too. I guess that's what I would say, right? Yeah, NFTs are hard. And you're probably ignorant about them, but you know what you're also ignorant about? The fine art world. You're ignorant, right? But yet you're still doing paintings, aren't you, motherfucker? Right.
Right. Well, and here's the other thing too. Like when you look at like things that, have you ever watched Exit Through the Gift Shop by Banksy?
Oh yeah, God, yeah. Fuck this.
He just completely
Nunez recommended that to me.
Yeah. So it's like when you look at the art world through Banksy's eyes, you realize that it's all perceived value, and people create perceived value through, advertising or a manipulation or finding influencers or whatever. It's really fucking crazy. So the fact that Banksy and Shepard Fairey could pretty much turn Mr. Brainwash into a multi-million-dollar selling artist is just proves in itself that value of art is not based off of quality or tenure or any of that stuff. It's based off of the perceived value. And you got people like Madonna who uses Mr. Brainwash as to do her cover art. It's like you can see it's a fucking joke. So
it's a joke that's become part of the point now too, and then became relevant again. At any rate, brother, thanks for talking so much and filling me in on this. And I look forward to talking to you more and getting on the Discord and trying to figure out what the fuck that's all about too. However, I believe that I've stayed too long. I've definitely said too much, and I should probably let you get off to drawing. I know that somebody's cracking a whip over you somewhere.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Talk to you later, Jesse. Bye.
All right, buddy. Later.